But first, I want to share an Instagram post from a woman who recently felt compelled to share what it's like attending country music concerts as a Black country music fan. Here's some of what she wrote. Before you buy tickets to a show, have you ever looked up the name of the town/city and then racism? I have. I have felt uneasy walking through a crowd of tailgaters and seeing Confederate flags flying high, wishing I was invisible so I could walk through the crowd without being seen or noticed. That is horrible. We have Rachel on the line right now. Hey, what's up, Rachel?
Hi, Kelly.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I love what you posted, and I gotta ask you, like, what inspired you to write your post?
Well, I grew up listening to country music. My grandmother is a big country music fan. She grew up in Georgia. So I got that love for country music from her. And, you know, with loving country music, there's a lot of stereotypes with it. Mm-hmm. And with what's been going on with George Floyd, you know, a lot of country artists have been speaking up about it. And I was very excited about that because seeing country artists speak up about it meant, you know, that they see me and that they hear me. But at the same time, you know, I saw a lot of comments where people were going back and forth about whether or not he, you know, should have died. And that kind of struck a chord with me. So I, you know, took the time to write the post and to just speak on the experiences that I have as a Black country music fan.
Yeah, I think it's really important. So tell us more about your experience at country shows.
Well, I will say that I've never had a bad experience at a show. So I've never gone to a show and been like, man, shouldn't have went there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I have experienced a lot of microaggressions. And it's almost like there's two Rachels. You know, there's the one Rachel that can go with her friends and enjoy herself, have fun, sing, dance, you know, just have a great time. And then there's the Rachel that is by herself who kind of has to, you know, be cautious, know who's on her left, who's on her right, who's behind her. She has to just watch out for that. Wow. There was a show that I went to. It was in Ohio. And, you know, there was a middle-aged white man sitting next to me. And he didn't say a word to me the whole night. But while the song was playing, it was Chris Stapleton. You know, I had my foot tapping along to the music, and I was on my phone texting with my friend. And, you know, he said, do you even know who that is? And it was like, yeah, it's Chris Stapleton. And then, you know, he was like, well, do you know what song it is? And I said, yeah, it's called Parachute. And for about 10 seconds, he was just quiet. And then eventually, you know, he just said, wow, I didn't think that you would know that. And, you know, to anyone else, that would just be him asking me a question. But to me, that was pretty offensive because it was almost like he was saying, you know, you're Black, so how do you know country music? How do you know this song?
What do you hope? Because I know I do love that you said, hey, I keep going back to these concerts. I love going to concerts. You don't want people to dictate your life. But I love that you've brought up something that people don't think about because maybe they haven't been directly impacted by it. So what are you hoping that people take away from your post?
You know, I just hope for one that people educate themselves, you know, educate your families, your friends, your loved ones, and just teach them that, you know, we all come in different colors, all, you know, shades, races, and that it doesn't matter what's on the outside. What matters is what's on the inside. And then also to speak up. You know, I follow a Black female country music singer on social media named Mickey Guyton. And and she performed at a show and someone yelled out a racial slur at her. And, you know, she just had to keep singing because that's her job. You know, she's being paid to perform. And, you know, as if I were there as a Black woman, I would have stepped up and been like, hey, sir, you know what you just said, that's not cool. That's pretty offensive. But, you know, if he had that much hate in his heart to call her that word, he most likely has that same hate in his heart to call me that word. He looks at me the same way as he looks at her because we're the same color. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if someone who were not of color spoke up and was like, hey, you know, I heard what you said. It's not cool. Maybe he would have listened to them better or more because, you know, he'd been like, I relate to you. We're the same. Okay, I'll listen to you. So, you know, I just think that.
Right. I think the conversations with your family and friends and people around you that you're like, wait, what'd you just say? Like, you know, I think that's it. And I've had to do that plenty in conversations with people about all different things in society. And I think that's the only way we're going to learn how to be the best versions of ourselves if you're surrounding yourselves with people that want you to be the best version of yourself. Thank you for not giving up on going to concerts just because there are jackholes out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your story.
Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Please don't make me keep going.